Hello, welcome to The Loney Show. I'm your host, John Loney. In this episode, I brought in regulars Eric Taylor, Faiffy, and Risk 11. A first in this podcast history. 3-1.
It might actually be the biggest podcast we've ever had. Well, with guest-wise.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm here for it. Go for it.
Anyway, as for our guest, he's from San Francisco. He is a founder, and he has pretty much established himself creating forms of career growth and personal growth. That's as short as I can put it. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Brandon Lee.
Cool. Thanks for having me.
Anytime. So, how's life?
Life is pretty great. Working on my own company, so I get to set my own timeline and schedule. It's resonant work. So I think all things considered, life is pretty good.
Nice. And have you been up to much recently?
What I've been up to most recently, I at least for the last 9 months, I've just been working on my current company. So that's been the main thing.
All right, cool. And tell us more about this company that you're working on.
Yeah. So I'm currently working on Zone of Genius Institute, and basically I'm building out a professional assessment from scratch. So something that, so you've all probably taken personality tests here or there. I'm basically building one right now.
Wow.
And I guess the thing that makes it different is like, why do we need yet another personality test? I think the difference is I'm trying to help people assess for what gives them energy and what makes them excited, rather than maybe how their personality is wired or what they're good at.
And
Wow.
How would you know if this personality test is accurate or not?
Is there like an accuracy like rate that you've got for it?
Yeah, so I've actually spent, so even though I've been working on this full time for like the last 9 months, I've actually been working on the side on it for almost 2 years. And so I've actually run over 300 one-on-one sessions with people to basically build the foundations of this assessment. So to answer the question, how do I know it's accurate is, well, I get feedback from all of my users directly. And I don't know if you all are familiar with NPS, which is Net Promoter Score. Since I've started, my NPS is like 70 to 80. So a lot of people resonate with the results that they're getting. So that's kind of my qualitative barrier, or qualitative, I guess, assessment to gauge how well it's doing. So yeah, I don't know if that sufficiently answers your question.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Is there anything you want to talk about, Jamie, or Faiffy, Eric? Anything you particularly want to ask?
Well, yeah, I do have one thing.
Okay.
What is the core focus of your company specifically?
Well, in terms of what we're assessing, we're trying to help people understand what gets them excited. If we're zooming out, like why even bother doing that is, well, the philosophy is modern work is not really designed for our individual enjoyment or alignment or excitement. Modern work is designed for the efficiency of companies to get the most amount of work out of each employee, right? And as a result of that, modern work isn't really designed for employees. It's not designed for employees' well-being, quality of life, at least the majority of companies. Maybe some companies do a good job of that. But for the vast majority of companies, they do not do that. And so as a result, it's really left to individuals most of the time to figure out, okay, how do I create a career that I enjoy? And so most people kind of have to forge their own path to figure out how to do that. And so this assessment basically could do two things. One is, yeah, of course, help individuals go on that path and make that path a little easier. And two, it can actually provide a framework for how companies think about how they hire and how they design roles and how roles might be better fit for people with particular geniuses. And so I've already been working with a couple companies to basically revise how they come up with job roles and job functions to more fit in line with these genius buckets that I've come across in the work that I'm doing.
So basically,
Right.
to like interview people on that.
Sorry, say that again.
So is it kind of like a new way for you to interview employees and that for jobs, future jobs?
I guess it could be used in that context. Yeah, I guess we're pretty early stage in terms of how we apply it. But yes, there has been a company that has been sending their applicants through my assessment to get a better sense of their genius.
So, like, has there been any other companies that you found, or is this your first company that you ever built?
No, this is my fourth time. I've run a real estate company. I used to flip houses. I also ran an education company, and at a certain point, way early in my career, I started a house church. So I guess that's a sort of a company. So this would be my fourth stab at building a thing from scratch.
Did you so what happened with the others? Did you just sell them on, kept them on, or just
no? So the house church we basically shut down because the founders, one of the founders moved away, kind of lost interest in that. With the real estate company, I kind of just wound that down after 4 years because I also lost interest in it. And with the education company, we also shut that down because education services is very intensive and very low margin. And so my co-founder and I we weren't very optimistic that it would set us up financially for the rest of our career. So we decided against doubling down on it. So we shut that down. So no, I didn't sell any of them, unfortunately.
It makes sense. Like, if it's not going to do well, and you're not if you're not really going to make a profit on it, you may as well shut it down before it gets too bad.
Yeah,
seems smart. Any questions you guys want to ask? Jamie,
So,
Eric?
Brandon, what's it like in San Francisco? What do you like about it? What do you not like about it?
I'm born and raised in the Bay Area, so I grew up in San Jose, 40 minutes from San Francisco. I've been living in San Francisco for 2 years. San Francisco is a very interesting population in that there's like a wide range of people of different beliefs, lifestyles, perspective, philosophies. So if you want to meet people who think like you and are interested in the same kinds of things as you, San Francisco is a kind of like a melting pot to be able to find those kinds of people. There's like a lot of the weird goes to San Francisco. So there's like basically communities for everyone in San Francisco. So it's really the people, in my mind, that's the draw. The weather is kind of finicky. You get a lot of fog. It's a little cold. Sometimes it's actually a lot of times it's windy and cold. But yeah, so I think people come here for the people more than anything else, and the culture more than anything else. But that's my personal experience of San Francisco.
So what are your personality tests, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us any examples of the questions that are on it, or are there like photos, or how is it formatted? Like how is it really?
It's kind of like a typical personality test where you're given a statement and then you evaluate it from a range of strongly disagree or strongly agree. And that's basically the format. And there's about 60 prompts that are like that. And then, so to give you a sense of the differences, like the kind of results that you would get. So for example, there's basically a kind of person who likes to shut off their brain and just feel in the moment and just follow their intuition. There's a kind of person that actually enjoys doing that for the sake of doing that. And that is actually really exciting and compelling to them. Like they will do that for fun as a way to like spend a weekend or an evening. There's another kind of person that just cares about learning a wide range or wide breadth of things. And they will just learn for the sake of learning, gathering knowledge just because. And that's what they would do for fun. So that's just 2 examples of the range of kinds of people that are and what they do for fun, what gets them excited and what gets them energized.
All right. Incredible.
Was there anything?
Is there anything you wanted to say, Faith? Like, go on.
Yeah. Go ahead.
What do I do in my free time? I'm mostly just working on this project currently, and or other side projects that I have. There's There's another project that I'm working on that's called The Book Connection, and it's based on the idea of what if you could meet total strangers based off of a book that you just finished reading. So there's been a lot of times where I finish reading a book and I think, I wish I had someone to talk to about this. And I have friends who read, but rarely are we reading the same book, and rarely have we read the same book at the same time. And so that's the birth of the idea. I've been working on that for like 3 or 4 months. So when I'm not working on my main company, I'm building a side company, or maybe reading.
So is that like an app that's gonna like can allow people that like to read connect?
Currently, it's just a Google form, and I have a virtual assistant that basically helps me operate the entire process. But yeah, once it gets enough traction, then I'll turn it into an app. We currently have about 600 users on it, and we've facilitated, or we've made like I think 200 something introductions. But yeah,
okay.
Working on.
When do you plan on making it into an app?
I'm actually talking to a few engineers right now about helping me build like an alpha version of that. The issue is that it's not making any money, so I'm trying to figure out a way to get the app built with as little money as possible. But yeah, so I'm working on it. It's just going to take time because it's not my main thing.
Okay, so like in what year do you think you would have it launched on the App Store or Play Store?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, maybe a year from now. At this point, it's just free, a Google form, and so people can access it if they want. It's just going to be a really terrible user experience. So maybe a year. I don't think the goal is. I don't have an explicit goal of like, I want to launch into an app. I think the goal is, does it work? Does it successfully match people together? Do people like the service? And if that continues to be true, then yeah, I'll work towards launching it as an app.
Got you. True that. Got you.
But being able to get about 600 people, it's a good sign, I would say. Like,
sorry, what was is there a question there?
No, I just said like the fact that you got 600 people that are interested in it. It's a good sign. Seems like a good promising sign.
Yeah, it's got a decent. So my virtual assistant does a lot of like outbound, and so she works 40 hours a week on it, and so she literally sends out thousands of messages out every single week to get people to try the service. So right now we have about a 5% sign up rate. So for every 100 people she messages, 5 people will sign up, which is a decent conversion rate in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
All right. So I assume you also like to travel a lot. Is that, am I right? Or am I wrong?
I don't travel for travel's sake. I travel mostly because of people. So I do have a stint of travel in October where I'll be Denver, Chicago, New York, Toronto, and Puerto Rico. But actually in the last 5 years, I haven't traveled much at all. It just so happens that this October, I'm just going to do a whirlwind of travel.
Oh, okay, cool. So if you can travel anywhere in the world, just for a vacation, not for a friend, not for like, a business trip, where would you go and why?
Man, I'd probably not travel because I'm the kind of person that working on interesting problems is my form of fun. So there's literally a genius category for that, going back to the assessment. So I'm not that type of person that like, I'm just going to go travel for fun, just to see the site, just to enjoy sights, sounds, and new experiences. That actually is a particular genius. And that is not me. And I think for a long time, I used to feel like I'm weird for that. And I felt like definitely in the minority for not being wired like that. But that is just not me.
Hey, don't feel weird about it. I mean, like everyone else is, everyone else is pretty basic and normal. So it's like, being weird it's like, it's a unique thing, but it's also a rare thing. So it's like, don't be ashamed of it. Like, look at me. I stay inside all the time. I'll be honest.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I stay inside all the time. And it's like, I don't know. Sometimes I do wish I can go out, but it's like, what would I really do?
Yeah.
Like, have you ever thought of that? Like, what would you really do? Like,
yeah, I know. There's a lot of people that are like thrill seekers, and like just sheer novelty is really appealing to them. That just is me. So there's other people that just go out, try new stuff, try new restaurants, and like try new experiences all day, every day. and that's their version of fun, and that just doesn't do much for me.
Same here, because it's like, if I don't have the money, or like, if I don't have, especially if I don't have money, I have no reason to go outside. And it's like, I don't have a girlfriend, so it's like I definitely don't have a reason to go outside to go to anyone's house. So it's like, it's like pretty much, like, I would pretty much be going out for nothing. Like, what am I gonna go out for? Fresh air?
Chinese food.
Now let me stop. Sometimes I do go out for fresh air. Like sometimes it gets boring in the house, but it's like for the most part I do stay inside.
Yeah, this one is.
What is if you could take back any mistake in your life, whether if it was job related, whether if it was or just anything else, what would it be and why?
That's really hard, because I've made so many interesting decisions, and I would not be the person today if I hadn't gone through those things. So it's very rare that I even frame a decision that I made as a mistake. It's more so like, the only things I can think of are like embarrassing moments in my life where like, man, I wish I didn't do that thing to embarrass myself. Like, I did a lot of awkward things when I was a teenager when it came to girls, because like I was so socially weird.
Same here.
So to me, those were all, like, I made most of my mistakes there. But in terms of adulthood, like a lot of the career decisions, big decisions, life changes that I made, like I stand by them. I'm very proud of a lot of those decisions. I feel like I did it with the right mind, right heart, and maybe they didn't play out as fantastically as I wanted to, but that was never the point. The point was that I felt like it was the right decision and I was excited by it. So to answer your question and not answer your question, I don't know if there's anything I would undo. I'm very happy with how my life played out, even though it's not perfect, because perfection isn't really my measure of how happy I am with my life.
No, yeah, that's true. That's true. It's like, I like asking that question because I like to know what everyone because personally I would like to know what everyone says, whether if like, they say like, they learned from those mistakes, or like they wouldn't take back anything. And as for the like weird thing, that was me too when it came to girls in school. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, but I think I'm past that now. But it's like, yeah, I can definitely relate on that.
Yeah.
Real estate. Curious.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, you cracked up. I didn't hear the.
How did you get into real estate? Because you said you had a real estate company. I'm curious.
Sure. So yeah, it's an interesting story. I was 21 at the time. I had dropped out of college, and I had just been on the tail end of running that house church, and I was basically tired of being broke, because being in faith and ministry is not necessarily a moneymaker unless you're like trying to optimize for that. So I was tired of not having money, and I read somewhere that 70% of millionaires owned real estate. So I'm like, okay, like if I want to understand money, maybe I'll go into real estate. And so my friend told me about this guru program. It's kind of big in the US, called Fortune Builders. And they basically advertise on the radio and say things like, oh, do you want to learn how to flip houses? We'll teach you. Yeah. Come to a free workshop. We'll teach you everything you need to know. And one of those spiels. So I went to that workshop. I bought their upsell. And then we basically opted into their full program. And that's how I learned about how to flip houses. And yeah, first 6 months of that industry was like a lot of overwhelm, doing a lot of things, not knowing up and down, because I'm a 20-year-old who dropped out of college without any background in real estate or money or finance or strategy. Like if I were to bet money as to whether that kid would succeed, I would have bet money against that kid. And so that's how much of a fluke and partially luck that phase was. But basically after 6 months of kind of flailing around, my business partner and I found our first deal, and the fairy tale ending is that first deal was perfect, and that set myself up for the rest of my life and the rest of my real estate career. That did not happen. That deal collapsed the day after we were supposed to close. The person who was supposed to fund it just ghosted me and said, hey, I can't fund this anymore. So basically our entire deal was supposed to collapse. And basically we scrambled to call any person in the industry we know who might save the deal, and that's actually what happened. We found someone last minute who considered looking at the deal and said, you know what, we'll take it over, but we can't pay you anything. And that person ended up kind of pitying me and my business partner and said, you know what, like, I feel bad for you guys. You can stick around and kind of project manage this project if you'd like. And that's basically how I met my mentor.
Wait. So the last guy ghosted you?
Yeah, the guy who was supposed to fund the deal just ghosted me. He just didn't even wire the money. I texted him, and then he basically said, sorry, I can't do this anymore. No.
A lot in real estate.
What was that?
Does that happen a lot in real estate, or is that just a fluke?
I had never seen that happen in the 3-4 years after that experience. So I don't know how often that actually happens.
I'm not gonna lie. The only thing I probably would have been mad about was the fact that he didn't tell me a couple days in advance.
Yeah, that was the main reason I was mad. I'm like, dude, you could have told me sooner.
I mean, yeah, because it's like if you're literally telling me the day of you're supposed to send me the money, it's like I'm gonna be pissed.
Yeah.
You know, it's like because I expected you to send me the money to fund, do this for me, but it's like then you're saying I'm sorry, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, and even same day is better than the day after we were supposed to close. Like contractually, we were supposed to close on that particular day, and it wasn't until literally the day after.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that's how I got started in real estate, and that guy who took over the deal ended up becoming my mentor, and he basically is like a Cambodian refugee self-turned millionaire, and he basically taught me everything he knew in real estate over the next 3-4 years. And so I basically owe 90+% of my real estate knowledge, experience, success to him because he was willing to teach me all this stuff.
Okay. Nice. Great story.
So Jay, you got any questions for our guest?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what inspired you to create your program? I can't remember what the name was.
Zone of Genius?
Yes, that's the one. I can't believe that slipped my mind. What inspired you to start that?
So maybe back in 2020, in May, my friends and I were reading this book called 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership. It's a fantastic personal development book. So if you're into that, it's a great book. But there's a chapter in there that talks about genius. And with this book, there's actually a bunch of worksheets on the website that you can do if you want to try to apply this book in your life. And that's where I first kind of did an exercise around finding your zone of genius. And so me and my two friends, we did this exercise. They were both very surprised at my kind of synthesis of what I thought their zone of genius was. And from there, they just told me, there's something here. You should look into this. So I thought they were just pulling my leg or just exaggerating. And I ended up pinging a handful of other friends, asking them to try this exercise. And I would basically facilitate for them and like share with them what I saw in terms of what their genius was. They all kind of were very surprised by it. So I took that as a better sign. So from there, I just posted on Facebook inviting anyone in my network to just try this exercise. And about 20 people signed up. And that just basically kept happening. People kept talking about it. People kept getting a lot out of it. And so that's why I kept doing it on the side for so long. I basically did almost 100 sessions one-on-one on the side without doing any marketing besides that Facebook post. People just kept talking about it. So in my world, that's called product market fit. And that's demand pool, where people are banging on your door because they want something. And that doesn't happen that didn't happen in the other companies that I ran. You had to go out and find people. And that's very labor intensive, but it's just totally different when people are coming to you. So why did I start it? Well, people just kept asking me to do it. That's one. And then the other is, well, why did I decide to go into this full time? One of the people that took this assessment early on actually turned out to be an investor. And he called me, or he stayed in touch with me over the years and just eventually said, hey, I really want this to exist in the world, and I was thinking about how we could build this into a school. And he told that to me, and I said, that doesn't sound that hard actually, because I've done the education thing. And so he was like, oh, that sounds easy. Okay, can you send me a proposal? And so I'm like, yeah. So I drafted a proposal, sent it to him in a week, and he said, hey, I have a lot of excitement around this. What would it take for you to do this full time? And that completely caught me off guard because I was not expecting that. And basically, within a few months after that, he was basically funding me to quit my job to work on this. So very random, very unexpected, and never would have saw that coming. And so that's why I'm specifically working on this full time. But yeah, to answer the original question, I did this work because people kept asking me to.
All right. So before all of this, has there been anything else you wanted to do, like aspired to be, like when you were a teenager or when you were a kid?
No, I think I'm definitely not one of those people who knew exactly what they wanted when they were younger. And every single one of the career moves that I've made, I did not predict I would get into. Like I never would have seen any of those decisions coming. But to try to answer the question in terms of like things that I would like to do, I mean, now, like eventually I wouldn't mind like getting certified for massage therapy. That was an old aspiration that I had. I wouldn't mind pursuing that later. I am currently exploring a potential career in politics, maybe in the next 5-10 years. So I'm currently learning about that. I've thought about the idea of becoming a software engineer. I've tried like a coding bootcamp. The idea of being able to understand something so fluently to build things is really compelling to me. I've also thought about like getting into hard sciences, like learning physics. I hated science in school, and I hated school in general when I was in school. But now that I'm an adult, understanding its potential applications, that appeals to me a lot more. Definitely later in my career, I wouldn't mind being a teacher because I think being able to condense all my life experiences and being able to pass that on to young minds, I think may create a much better learning experience than what I went through in school. In hindsight, I don't think that many of the teachers that I had were actually that good as teachers or as people who were really good at helping young people come into their own.
You know what's funny? I actually did a podcast with a former teacher from Germany. Mm-hmm. It's not released yet, but it's like I did it, and it's like she said she hated it.
Yeah.
She said she hated it. It's because the kids she was teaching just didn't want to learn it.
Yeah.
And it's like it was frustrating for her.
That's like pulling teeth.
The whole teeth.
I even told her, it's like, look, I couldn't be a teacher. It's like I don't want to deal with other people's kids. The only kids I can deal with are the ones I'm planning on having in the future. But it's like, yeah. But good luck though.
Yeah, and especially how sucky the U.S. education system is. Like there's just so many things that are broken. But that's a totally different topic.
It sucks.
Yeah. And that is all we have for this episode. It was great having you here, Brandon, talking about Zone of Genius, your experience in the real estate market, and everything else. It's been fabulous.
Yep, thank you for having me.
No problem.
Anytime. And until next time, stay tuned for more.